Today we'll discuss a new topic, that is Java buzzwords. Let me start with this topic, Java buzzwords. Java buzzwords is also called as features. It is also be called as the features. Features, Java features, features of Java and features of Java and buzzwords both are same. This both will be called as same. Okay, so let me start this today. This is the base book we are going to follow, the Java complete reference. Not only this, from other sources I'm also presenting here for your better understanding. So we have many different buzzwords out there, Java buzzwords, that is features of Java. Among that, few will be discussed here, that is probably it is a 12 Java buzzwords we are going to talking about here. 12 buzzwords, that is simple, object oriented, platform independent, secure, robust, architectural neutral, portable, dynamic, interpreted, high performance, multi-threading, distributed. Right, so coming to the first feature or first buzzword of Java is simple. So let me see why it is called as simple. So according to the Sun team, which is called as a green team, Java language is simple because it is the syntaxes whatever it is based on C++. So those who have learned C++, it is very easy to understand Java. So it is not mandatory to has to learn the C++, then only can learn Java. Even though if you have at least learned the C, you can directly go to the Java. But it is recommended that C++ can have that prerequisite for Java, then it is better. So many confusing concepts like the explicit pointers, operator overloading has removed in Java. So that's why it is a very simple. And there is a option we have, like in C, we have for allocation of memory, malloc, calloc are there. For in the C++, delete or free or some other new operators are going to be using. But in Java, once any variable you are assigning for a memory, like a equal to 10, at the time the address of a has to allocated in the memory where you are going to storing the 10 value. In the same fashion, there we are calling in C variables. In Java, we are calling as members. There in C, we are calling as functions. In Java, we are calling as methods. Now, once it is allocated any memory for a particular object, automatically the Java will take care of that. It will be take care of that. It will be automatically garbaging the collections, right? So automatically it will be collected all this. So with the help of automatic garbage collection, it will be making as the references, it will be unreferences the objects, right? So that's fine. It is very simple programming language. Okay, so the most probably uh, with the help of this, it is a following C++ syntaxes, removing the explicit pointers, operator overloading, and it is supports the automatic garbage collection. That's why it is a Java is a simple programming language. The second feature is Java is a object oriented. Like as I said you in the previous, object means a real-time entity. An object is called as an object mean is real-time entity. Real-time entity. What is an entity means? It is a like a chair, a fan, and which is we are touchable. Any object in the real time it's touchable is called as an object. That is a real time entity, right? So object oriented means both the software, that is software combination of different types of objects are there. It will combine as a data and behavior. If you observe, when a class is going to declare, like it class both data, that is the D, as well as the behavior. What is the data means? Like you are declaring int a equal to 10, b equal to 40. That is called as data. So with the help of this data, you are performing some operations, right? So performing some tasks, performing some operations on particular data is called as behavior. So for this entirely will be combined into a C, that is class. So for this we are creating an object. So that's why object oriented means for a real time of the different types of objects, it is going to be incorporated in a single class in the form of data as well as behavior. Both data means members, behavior means methods, both are going to be combining into that. So that Java is a object oriented programming. So it is a OOP is nothing but is a methodology. Methodology means a procedure or an the way of to representing a solution for a particular problem. A methodology, that's simply software development and maintenance by providing some rules and regulations. So we have some rules and regulations to write a C program. It has to start with header files, followed by the global declaration, followed by main. Like this, some rules and regulations are there. The variable name should be started like this, the size of the variable like this. The names has to be given like this. So with the help of that rules, it is this methodology has to be followed. So OOP means is a methodology that simply the software development and maintenance by providing some rules. And we have some basic concepts of OOPs like object, class, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation. So in the next class, we'll talk about this concepts of OOPs. For time being, just remember the names of object-oriented programming concepts or such as object, class, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation. Okay. Coming to the third feature, Java is a platform independent. So already we have discussed in the first topic. Platform means without depending on hardware and software, it is going to be depending on this, right? So without depending on hardware and software, if a program that is runs, then it is called as a platform. So two types of platforms we have. That is first one is a software based, second one hardware based. So Java is a purely software based platform. So actually when you are running any application in computer, we have three architectures, three-tier architecture, not three architecture, three-tier architecture. In the bottom up, we have the hardware. In the bottom up, we have the hardware. In the middle, we have the middleware technologies. That is MT, middleware technology. In top, we have applications. So application means what? Whatever we are seeing. Now we are installing, you are installing an application app over there. If you are viewing that, say for example, WhatsApp app, you are entering the message, you are sending a message, you are receiving the message. That's front end you are looking. That is application. But how the message is going, what the middleware technology I'm going when I press the enter button, how the message is going to that next party, how it is where it is storing, how the things are going on, we don't know in the background work. So in the background one, there is a second tier, that is middleware. We are using that middleware over there. And the third, the hardware, which is a kernel where we can operate the things to store, to operate, to monitor, all that. So there is a kernel, the hardware in the bottom. In the middleware, that is a middleware technology. In the up is application. Say for example, you are dialing a number to calling a person. So simply you are dialing a number and you are dialing. But how it is goes to that party, how the call has receiving. So first initially it goes to the nearest tower. From there it is going to be that person. Like this, some intermediate something is going on. Then only the call is connecting properly. So that intermediate here is called as middleware. So we are going to using different middleware technologies. So on top of that, the software-based platform that runs on top of the hardware-based platform. On top of this hardware, we are going to installing this software, that is Java. So two components we are having in this Java. One is JRE, Java Runtime Environment. The second one is Application Programming Interface. Now, what is called as JRE means, we'll see in the next figure what is a JRE means. If you see the figure, normally when you are running the C program, the extension of C program is what? .c. When you compile this program, it will generate object file, .obj file it generates. Am I right? So obj files it is generating, .object file. Now, when you have a Java file, the extension for Java is .java. The file extension is java.java file. Now, when you convert this one, it will generate the class files. It will generate dot class files. Like object files will generated by the C, it generates class files. That is dot class. So these class files you can run on any OSs like Mac OSs, Windows operating system, Linux operating system, anywhere we can run it because we have a JRE, Java Runtime Environment. With the help of that, on top of the OS, this is the OSs, right? This is Mac OS, this is Windows OS, this is Linux. On top of this, we are going to have a JVM, that is Java Virtual Machine. What is an virtual means? Virtual means which is physically or there converting as a logical one, which is physically actual into a not actual, natural to a artificial. Converting a physical into a normal, look like as a physical is called as virtual machine. On top of that, we are installing this, we have a JVM. So because you can write a program on Windows, you can run the program on any other operating system. That is, it is a flexibility that it supports. You can run on multiple platforms. That is, you can run in Windows. You write a program on Windows, you can just compile it, whatever the class file you are getting. That class file is called as consisting a bytecode. So with the help of that bytecode, you can run this program on any machines. You can run on any machines. You can run on this any type of operating systems. You can run it. So this because on top of the operating systems we have JVM, Java Virtual Machines. So Java code is compiled. Once it is compiled, it will be converted into bytecode. That bytecode is called as here is class file. So this bytecode is a platform independent code because it can be run on multiple platforms. That is write once, run anywhere. That is Aura. Write once. You can write once. You can run anywhere. You can write the program in Linux operating system. You can run in Windows. You can run in Mac OS. It does not mean that in the same operating system you can run it. So that is the best feature of Java. So that's why Java is a platform independent. How it will be possible means with the help of GRE. GRE means is Java runtime environment. Once you install JDK software, JDK Java Development Kit, once you install, it automatically run this one. So once the JDK is a Java Development Kit. Now we have a Java environment, Java runtime environment is there. So with the help of that, we have a JVM. JVM stands for Java Virtual Machine. So this is how the things are going on. So that's the Java is a platform independent. Now Java is the next feature. Java is a secure. How you can say Java is a secure means we don't have any explicit pointers. So if you have pointers, definitely it is a pointer reference, a variable reference of reference. So it stores the reference of another variable. So when it is having the references, easily the hackers can hack that one. So there is not support. Java is a not support the explicit pointers. So that's why Java runs inside the virtual machine sandbox. Virtual machine means just now I said you JVM, Java Virtual Machine. Sandbox means where it consisting of some binary files, some supporting files. Like in the header files, we have all different functions are available. So in the sandbox means consisting of supporting files will be available. See how C++ and Java will vary, how the programs will run. So here, as I said, with the three-tier architecture, we have a operating system in the bottom, kernel. So this operating system on top of that, we are running C++ program. Now how it runs means it uses runtime environment of operating system. So this, they are going to be using the RE, the runtime environment is using by C++ is operating system of RE they are using. Whereas in Java, on top of the OS, we have JVM, Java Virtual Machine. On top of that, we are running Java applications because it uses runtime environment of its own. The Java having their own runtime environment, that is JRE. Their own, it is not depending on operating system RE, runtime environment. It depends on Java runtime environment. That's why we can run this Java program at any platforms. Okay, so that's why Java is a secure one. So with the help of the class loaders, here there is a three components out there. With the help of class loader, it will be make your Java file separated the packages of class files into the local system, converting into a Java program into a class program. And we have another component like bytecode verified, whether the code which you have written, code fragments, is any illegal code is there, whether it is violating the access rights to object or not, it will check. And we also have the third component, security manager, where it will be have the resources of class that read and writing to the local disk is there or not, it will check. So with the help of these three components, class loader, bytecode verifier, and security manager, it provides, Java will provides a secure language. So with the help of this, many security also it provides for the developer through SSL, JAS, cryptography, etc. So these are the some where the developers, application developers are going to be through this SSL certificates. Much information not required for you, SSL about JAS and cryptography. As time comes in the upcoming semesters, you will be learn about that SSLs and JAS and cryptography. The fifth feature, fifth Java buzzword is robust. Robust means strong. Robust meaning is strong. So why it is called as strong means uses their strong memory management. How you can say means we are avoiding, the Java is avoiding the pointers. With the help of that, there is a automatic garbage collection is there in Java so that it take care of the allocation of memory, deallocation of memory dynamically. So it supports exception handling and type checking. So in the third unit, we'll learn about the exception handling. What is an exception means? An error. What type of error, whether it's a compile time error or runtime error means, normally errors means compile time errors. Exception means it's also be errors, but runtime errors are called as exceptions. And it is handling runtime errors with the help of JRE, Java Runtime Environment. And type checking, it will gives you some hints. When you type a first three characters of any word or two characters, it will give some history Like this is a like it will help you in the from the history. Like when you are typing CL, automatically shows you the class. So it will give some type checking errors mechanisms will be there. So that with the help of this exception handling, type checking, automatic garbage collection, and memory management, we can say Java is a robust language. Now Java is a architectural neutral. Now how you can be say Java is an architectural neutral language means normally in C programs we have for the int data types it occupies 2 bytes for 32-bit architecture, whereas 4 bytes for 64-bit architecture. You know about the 32-bit and 64-bit. When you see in your my computer rightly properties, whether your system is a 32-bit or 64-bit processor, is a most of nowadays it's coming 64-bit processor. And also you can check in the C program files. In the program files, x86, 32, x86, 64 like this means is a 32-bit and 64-bit for that. But in C program, for 32-bit, it occupies 2 bytes. For 64, it occupies 4 bytes of this. But in Java, for both 32-bit and 64-bit, it occupies 4 bytes of memory only. So that's why no implementation dependable feature is there. That is, the size of the data type is not fixed in this one. Primitive data types is not fixed. Size primitive type is not a fixed one. So that's why size of the primitive types is a fixed over this and no implementation dependable features over this. That's why Java is a architectural neutral language. So the architecture for 32-bit architecture, 64-bit architecture, it occupies 4 bytes of memory. That is a fixed one. And seventh feature, seventh buzzword is a portable. What is the meaning of portable normally? Carrying easily from one location to another location is called as portable. Say whether you are, can carry easily the desktop. No, we can carry it, but it's a complex to carry it. But laptop, easily we can carry it. Simply we can put in a bag, we can carry it. Or in the hand, we can carry it. So portable means we can carry the Java bytecode to any platform. Just now we have seen, just you can type in one operating system. You can take the bytecode, you can travel at anywhere, you can run the bytecode because with the help of JVM, it supports. So Java will supports portability. Easily the bytecode is carried. Dynamic means definitely it supports runtime environment. So dynamic means what? Runtime it supports. Static means compile time. Dynamic means runtime. Interpreted means, as I said you, to compile Java, we have a Java C compiler, right? So in normal C program, we have compilation. Directly we run the program, right? Alt F9 for compile, Alt Control F9 for running the program. Shortcuts I'm saying. Now in Java, we have compiler, Java C, as well as we have interpreter. That is interpreter is Java interpreter. Both will be there. So with the help of that interpretation, we can control, we can see with the help of that class loader, byte verifier, and with the help of the security management, we can interrupt it the code wherever we require with the help of Java interpreter. So Java is an interpreter and Java C is a compiler. And the 10th buzzword feature of Java is a high performance. How you can be say high performance means Java is a faster. How means it is since interpretation the byte code. The byte code is very close to the native code. What is the native code of the computer language? Binary code, zeros and ones. So the byte code most probably it is closer to the not actually the binary code, but closer to the binary code, which can be understandable by the system. So because of that, it takes very less time to execute the program, so that the performance of that will be very high. So that's why Java is carrying the bytecode. It is converting the Java file into a class file, which is called as a bytecode. It is the bytecode is very closer to the native code. Native code means binary code, that is zeros and ones, which is understandable by the machine, that is a computer. So it is very closer to the native code. That's fine. The execution time it will be take very less. The performance is very high. That's why Java is a high performance language. The 11th buzzword feature is distributed. So as we said just now, we have it support Java many different applications like the desktop application, web application, mobile applications, like many, right? So when we can say it's a distributed means when you access any application remotely, remote means what? Through globally, through internet, if you are accessing that application, then it is called as distributed application because Java will support distributed applications. Say for example, the RMI, EJB, that is we can remotely, we can revoke some machine invocations. We can remotely call remote machine invocations. We can done it. We can also do the EJB, that is enterprise Java beans it supports. So as time comes in the fourth year or third year, you can learn about the RMIs and EJB. Just it supports the different distributed application. Means different applications it supports parallelly. It will be supports in the remotely it's supporting that one. That's why Java is going to be have distributed oriented. And the last buzzword is multi-thread. Now, what is a thread means? Normally, a big program, it will be divided into smaller pieces, small separate programs. So each separate program is called as a thread. So it executed concurrently. So concurrently, it is going to be executed. When you write a Java programs that deal with many tasks at once by defining multiple threads. So the best example I can say here, you are going to be entering into the ATM machine. Now in ATM machine, how many tasks we have? You can select a language, you can change your PIN number, you can make a money transfer or transfer from ATM to ATM. You can withdraw the money, we can do the fast withdraw, we can do the mobile recharge, we can do some lot of change, lot of things we can do. These are the multiple tasks. Withdraw is one task, changing password is one task, mobile recharge is one task, transferring money from one ATM to another ATM is another task, we are depositing the money is another task. Like this, multiple options are there. Each option is called as a task. Now, whether you are doing all the tasks at a time or one after the other, it is one after the other. First, if you want to change the password, you can change the password. If that task is completed, if you want to next task is withdraw money, we can go for withdraw money. If that task is completed, if you want to be transferred from ATM to ATM, we can select that ATM to ATM transfer option. If you want the other option, we can go for other option. So one after the other. So each task here called as a thread. It is separately doing that program. So because of having a program, a Java program is having a separate programs. Each program has called as a thread. The main advantage of this multiple thread. So we are having multiple tasks right there in the ATM machine, withdraw, changing the password, or fast withdraw, or moving from money transfer from one ATM to another ATM. So it supports multitasking. That is, each task is called as a thread here. It's called as multi-threading. So is that it does not occupy memory for each thread because it shares a common memory. When we can go for the task 2, for example, task 1 is change password. Task 2 is ATM withdraw money. Task 3 is transferring from one ATM to another ATM. When we go for task 2, once you completed task 1, then you can go for task 2. So whatever the memory will allocated for task 1, once it is completed, the space or whatever it allocated, automatically once the task 1 has completed, the same memory will be allocated to task 2. Once the task 2 has completed, the same memory will allocated to task 3. So it shares the common memory area so that we can reduce the memory over here, so that we can supports for multiple. So multiple threads can occupy the same memory so that it is concurrently is executing, so that it supports the multi-threading concept. So threads are important for multimedia, web applications, etc. Because multimedia, like when you're watching a video, it is not continuously is a video. It is a joining multiple images, and without any time limit, it is showing playing the frames, multiple images continuously framing, then it comes converting as a video. Actually, it's not an actual video. It is a combination of combining a multiple images. Each multiple images means multiple frames. Each frame consisting of 24 images. Like it is combining. So multiple multimedia and web applications, it supports threads. So thread means what? A small program. A small program from a out of a big program is a small separate program. It's separately executed, and it is occupying the same memory location. When you have a multiple threads, one after the other threads are sharing the same memory location to execute their program. So that's about the multi-threading. So what we have discussed in this class, we have seen a 12 different Java buzzwords or features of Java. One is simple, another is object-oriented, another is the platform independent, another is secure, another is robust, another is architectural neutral, another is portable, another is dynamic, another is interpreted, high performance, multi-thread, distributed. So these are the few, that is 12 Java features will be have in the Java object-oriented programming through Java.